Hello all, Xyceres here. We're doing another base tour today. This time it'll be another normal base, Wiscasset. This particular one, there was no real plan or anything behind this. I wasn't running any bases at the time, which is actually happening at the moment, because I haven't quite worked out what I'm going to do with Iron Ridge here yet. But I threw together a quick normal base. It has some pretty interesting like bedrock, and I just messed around with some blocks and whatnot to create something that I actually quite enjoy. This particular base ended up getting 95 raid attempts. It has a kill ratio of 3, which isn't too bad for a normal base. The accolades broke down into 62 fun, 18 brutal, 19 ingenious, and 31 artistic, for a ratio of about 1.4. It's like 1.36 and rounds up, and the highest being fun and artistic, which artistic you'll get to see in a sec. Fun varies obviously, but yep, let's go straight into the run. Okay, and we're back. So this is a heavily... So this base heavily uses the yellow blocks from the Scorched Acropolis pack, alongside a little bit of red accents from the just red metal and red glass blocks, and then to top it off I just use some grey stone, which creates the handrails on this here bridge down, but also there's nothing below this level here, so I used a bunch of grey stone to block it off, just so that people kept going down there. It was really annoying. You'll notice the lighting, most of it's just around the direction that you need to go to kind of like show you the way forward. But I have used a bunch of these T-blocks to try and make a symbol on the actual main building here, which is where the gen mat is, which you can see in here. You can also see this guard that moves slightly over to there. That guard has dead bends, which is why I pathed it onto a ramp, but more on that in a minute. And most of the floor I've made red using decals, just to have some contrast in colour, as well as to make the map feel more cohesive with the colour scheme that I'm going for. Anyway, the first thing I did was this room here. This room was the absolute first thing that was ever created. I just noticed that fairly high up, like there's still a few more blocks down that you can go. Like this is what, one below the level that I put the stone at? Or maybe... No, at the level of the stone. And I had this shape here, which is really useful, because it means that the most direct path, this and this, both have spaces that you can put hollow cubes in. So if the person picks a side and just tries to go straight forward, they will end up triggering at least one. This one I think just has a impaler in it, and this one has an impaler here with self-destruct, and this here. I'm not really expecting this to kill people most of the time, but it can if they freak out and go the wrong way, pretty much. Like, if they hear this and move in deeper, they can get caught by this. They're both impalers, because if I put bomb traps anywhere here, there's always a chance that the bombs end up in this cube and blow up the tomb, and I don't want to deprive people of the experience that you get from destroying the tomb yourself. Otherwise, this one here probably would have been a bomb trap. This here is... I know it's Hunter, what else is it? Hunter and Relentless, okay. Hunter and Relentless is just because it makes this corridor more dangerous for longer, and makes it harder to parry if you are going for that. And there's some shenanigans with, if you mistime your arc shield, you can get caught by the last bolt. Unlikely though, most of the time you want to deal with this first, because there's no easy way to just dodge that most of the time, because these two guards here are harassing you as you're coming down. So one of the best ways to deal with this is to just kill these two guards first, and then you can easily avoid these hollow cubes that can come in here. But because they're back here, and because they have short leash and thus can't be pulled out of here, they end up doing quite a lot of work. As for the actual decorations around here, these I believe are just covering the fact that that block there is actually bedrock. Similar thing for this yellow paint here. You'll notice that the texture's off if you look closely. These little banner things I've put around the base as well. There's a little bit of consistency in that. These here are just here to try and catch people if they, you know, run up and then back up. But you can't put impalers on these because the angled blocks are only half a block deep when they're set up like this, which is unfortunate. I tried a few things in here. There used to be a hollow cube here. Considered putting a plasma sentinel here and having you have to go around it, but in the end I ended up opting for this here with the bomb traps in the ceiling. I think this is the best way to handle it. It just means that if you do run forward and deal with this, the bombs have a very decent chance of killing you, and because of this semicircular room that I've got going on here, the bombs get pushed in most directions. They just can't really climb these, so this whole area becomes dangerous, but anything back here or forward is not. And that's kind of what the point of those bomb traps are, for people that are going fast, pretty much. Well, going fast but killing. If they were actually trying to speedrun this, you would just go up the stairs and be safe. This guy has short leash as well. He'll stay here and he'll just kind of act similar to the bombs. Occasionally, if you're here, he'll shoot over, get in here and potentially catch you off guard. Warmonger, on the other hand, he doesn't have short leash. He will just charge as far as he needs to. A lot of people just backed up to deal with it, which I think is fine. This guard here just had some extra danger rating. Just put some armor on it, hide him in the corner. It'll take some shots. It's pretty useful, particularly if you try to ignore it. This bolt shot can catch you in the back as well, when you're surprised by the guard. This one here has Deadman Switch, as mentioned earlier. He stands on the platform, he falls to about here, normally, which means people dealing with him and moving forward will die to him. Can happen. He's on his own, so it's not super likely because of people just being able to react to it because of the how slow it is. Not slow. Yeah, slow. Slow's close enough. Now, this I made a full big chamber. We've got more of these panels that I was talking about before, but also we've got the temple lights along with the decals from the necropolis. Necropolis? Sure, it was the Scorched Necropolis. Pack. And you'll notice that I'm using the ones that have the continuous pattern on the top and bottom around the edges here, and the big fancy genetic, like DNA, wins DNA thing. I can't remember what this is called. As a accent up a little bit higher, and you'll notice that there are lights on these. They've got the cathedral lights, I think they're called. They look a little weird because they're painted. I don't really like how the paint applies to these ones in particular, though they can be useful in others. Similar thing with the church lights. I don't think not church, temple lights doesn't work quite as well as I'd like with the paint, but I can't not have the paint, and I think the temple lights do add something here. And once you grab this, there's no second wave, which is why I put a second wave hollow cube here, so you can just run out here. For reference, this here is where the tomb is. Yeah, so I didn't bother with any second wave, so I just put an exit, and it's in a fairly obvious spot. A lot of people still miss it, regardless. You want to put it a little bit away from unless you're playing on brutal, unless you're building on brutal, you want to put it a little bit away from the path so that it doesn't trigger the danger rating for being on the path. And hollow cubes danger rating on path is ridiculously high because they are fairly dangerous a trap, despite the cost of them. And if you have to trigger it, that can be quite dangerous. So I kind of agree with that idea. It does break down when you start considering the fact that you get other multipliers for traps that are overlapping, and that causes them to get really high really quickly, particularly if you have hollow cubes next to one another. So for normal, you generally want to avoid using hollow cubes on the path, but you'll note that that one is not on the path because it only reaches to roughly where this guard is standing, not where it paths to. And these ones in here don't hit these ones because of the solid bedrock. They actually come up to about here. So all of these ones would be on the... So there's like 3 categories of how it works. It's like traps on Harvey Path, traps next to Harvey Path, and traps away from Harvey Path. And these would all be considered next to, I'm pretty sure, but hollow cubes have a really massive drop off in how much danger they give. So that will have dropped off, and because that's dropped off, it makes them a little bit easier to use. Whereas if I'd put a hollow cube here, that would be a lot more danger rating. Because it'll be on Harvey's path, because Harvey's path is this block. And yeah, that would just be a lot. Anyway, that's everything with Wiscasset. So if you would like to run it, it's on social at the moment, and we'll remain on social until the description says otherwise. If not, well, I hope you enjoyed the video at least. And I shall see you next time, where I'll be going over Goffstown, which was a challenge build I did. But we'll cover that when we get to that video.